Uh, hey guys, welcome to another episode of East Coast Rams podcast. I'm your host Ashton, with my awesome co-host Zach. We're gonna just jump into this. This won't be exactly like our normal podcast, just because we need therapy. Uh, Not because of like the 49ers destroyed us. It's more we need therapy because that game was so frustrating to watch on many fronts. It's not that the 49ers didn't do a good job, Zach. They did. They had some players making plays all night, especially on defense. Their offense wasn't anything outside of two really big plays, to be honest. Um, but they were still better than our offense. Zach, what's your initial reactions to this game?
Yeah, so we're coming off 30 minutes from the end of the game. So literally, our emotions are probably a lot higher than they would be if we recorded this normally, the next day, is what we typically do. Um, but yeah, this was not a good performance. Um, Not at all. And our defense played okay. I definitely don't think they did us many favors. Um, the offense played atrocious. I get the fact that our O line is completely pretty much disintegrated at this point. When we're going into our third string center. Um, but you look at the stats and you would you would not think that we were dominated like we were.
Well, I mean, so the thing is, Zach, people will say and make the excuse, oh, yeah, the line was obliterated. I understand that. The 49ers also had some O line difficulties, even though, like, it was in one position versus three with the Rams, so it is a little bit different there, but that's still on coaching to work around that. And the thing that gets me, Zach, isn't necessarily that we lost. It's that McVay refused to try to go to a formation that would be better for a type of O line this battered. Like he kept on trying to do 5-step dropbacks with three wide receivers. That's not going to work, especially when we have a wide receiver core consisting of Cooper Cup, just Cooper Cup. Allen Robinson has been a non-factor all year. Um, I mean, Skowronek has been fine. He's average. He's a good body. He's made decent plays. But in this style of game, you can't just rely on 5-step dropbacks when your entire center of your old line is obliterated by injuries and expect to win or expect to do good. And guess what? Stafford got sacked a ton this game. Uh, and I think that's a failure in coaching. I think this was one of McVay's worst coached games. I think it's worse than even that Ravens game that we got blown out by, just by like failing to adapt to the situation.
Yeah, it's it was just bad. I mean, we were kept to 57 yards rushing. Um, we it was the Cooper Cup and Higbee show. I mean, Cooper Cup had 14 receptions for 122 yards, 19 targets. Tyler Higbee followed that with 10 receptions for 73 yards for 14 targets. And it's just too much for two players alone. I mean, Cooper Cup getting 14, I think that is his highest receptions as a Ram, and so uh, I don't know. It was such a weird game. We had some good momentum in the beginning, and then we just fell flat. And I think we just keep saying this week over week is that we're having problems just just finishing things. Like I don't know. We're
Well,
just stepping on our own toes.
Zach, if I can see that our number one red zone play is a fade to Cooper Cup or Allen Robinson, defensive coordinators definitely know that, right? Like, I'm not getting paid millions of dollars like they are to watch film consistently, but I know we just throw fades. We don't really run in the red zone, if ever, and especially with how we were running, it's understandable we wouldn't. but it's just a lack of creativity by McVay. It's like we said before the game on that 49ers YouTube channel, if our offense is just Cooper Cup and tight end screens, we're not going to be successful. And that's what our offense was, and we were very clearly not successful. Someone on the wide receiver core had to step up for us to have a good game. That's not happening, Zach, and it's starting to get to the point where this Rams team, our schedule is not exactly the easiest, and we're gonna lose games. And I said that this offense was starting to worry me, even last week when we beat up on the Cardinals. Like, we just can't be doing this consistently. And Allen Robinson, I don't know why we're paying him because he has just not looked good. And I get giving him time to get into the offense, and like Robert Woods last year, it took him a few games to get in to the rotation. And then he started getting targets. But it's like Stafford tried to throw to him this game and he just wasn't getting anything. Some of the DBs had good plays, but again, you're getting paid to make better plays than the DBs.
I mean,
That's why
especially
you
when
make above 10 mil.
right, well, especially when Cooper Cup is mostly getting double coverage, and Allen Robinson is more in the single coverage. Like, I thought their whole reason was for getting him was that when you throw a jump ball up, he's the one who's gonna win that jump ball. So we're just not seeing anything new. And honestly, the person that I think should have been utilized more was Powell, because I think he
Yeah.
had some more of the more explosive plays that then just we just didn't do anything with that. I mean, he had the longest I think he had the longest rushing of our running backs, and then he had a really nice 7 yard catch too. So I don't know. I Going back to your one point real quick about the whole Cooper Cup thing. Like, I mean, that was the one of the big reasons why they were able to do the pick six, was because if you're just going to keep throwing to Cooper Cup, well, I'm just going to keep my eyes on him, and whenever you have a better opportunity to jump the ball if it's always going to go in that direction.
I mean, it was a great play by the linebacker who studied a lot of film, right? Like we saw Darius Williams do the same thing to the Seahawks a few years ago. It's just players will make plays like that. Um, uh, it's still like you got to pass the ball around. We had plenty of opportunities to score, and we just didn't. Um, Stafford had two wide open misses. I mean, I would say this was definitely a top five worst performance by him. It wasn't his worst, but it definitely wasn't good. I mean, the pick six is kind of a great play. I don't blame him for that. That's not like a pick six that he could have necessarily avoided, but he should have had other balls picked. Like he should have had two other picks. So to me, it's kind of like null and void with that. He still was throwing bad balls. He completely missed two touchdowns back to back. Or well, no, he missed one, and then I believe there was a pass breakup, or like Cup didn't catch it correctly or something like that. I can't remember. And then he missed another wide open one to like Higby. It's just I don't know. This game was such a mess for our offense,
Um,
and people just want to sit down and blame the O line and defense. Don't get me wrong, the defense didn't do great. Uh, but again, they only allowed what, Zach? 16 points? 15?
16 points, yeah. And
Yeah, they only
realistically,
let 16 points.
uh, you
That's
know, honestly, it probably could have been, 23 points. Um, because I really think Shanahan should have gone and on the 4-1 and just punched it in. I mean,
I
I understand.
disagree with that. I think that was the right choice from him, especially with how our offense was playing.
I mean, I get that it was probably the right choice. I just feel like if it was, I mean, I think it was in reverse. I think Sean McVay would have gone for it, and probably would have succeeded. And I think they would have succeeded too. But I know they're also trying to protect their quarterback, so they probably wouldn't have tried a QB sneak or anything like that. Um,
You just reminded me of that QB sneak on second and third. Oh my gosh.
yeah, second and third QB sneak. That's, I
That's
mean, I don't know whose idea that was. I mean, obviously it probably was McVay's idea, but um,
oh dear. That was
it was
that
dismal.
I think that just tells you the kind of headspace. For some reason he gets in his head against Shanahan. I mean, it doesn't help that like Jimmy G just for some reason plays so well. Like I've watched two of the 49ers games this year, and he has looked atrocious. And he just plays against us, and he wasn't.
I
He
mean, he
wasn't
really didn't. I don't think he played. I mean, he didn't play
the
excellent. I
first
mean, he was
quarter. He was excellent. The first quarter,
he
he was.
he was 16 for 17, but I guess it was kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like he's really good at the short passes, and then it's
Our
like
defense
Debo was
just gives up that.
right. I mean, for the first touchdown was a 22-yard rushing, so that didn't even have anything to do with him. And then the Debo one, Debo ran for 50 yards. I mean, he got it short and then ran it. And a lot of the times it's he's just a good manager. He's able to do the short balls. And yes, he did have a few good, longer balls, but for the most part, he kept it tight and that's the weakness to the Rams is, and I explained that when we were on that podcast with 49ers is like the weakness is our bend not break where you just let these little you let them when we were at third and 13, which I think is the Rams like curse of third downs, but third and 13 and they do a just a lateral pass and they get the first down. Like what is this? Like what is that? They're playing soft coverage and it was everything about this game infuriated me.
Yeah, you have to do man coverage against, and I don't know why our defensive coordinator. I don't know why Morris is allergic to man coverage against a team like this. Because if you're saying like their wide receiver core is so amazing that we can't do man coverage at all, but yet you want to just give up the short passes to QB who would struggle otherwise. I think that's why Jimmy G struggles against other teams and not against ours is because whenever he plays against ours, it's mostly zone and like mixed zone blitzes, and that it's just not doing anything to him. Uh, I don't know. I also would say, and give me your opinions on this, Zach. I think Ernest Jones and Bobby Wagner were very ineffective this game. Yeah, they weren't the greatest at running the ball, which I do give credit to our defense for limiting the run a little bit. But man, they were able to just pass all over those two for the most part.
Yeah, i mean I mean, yes, I don't disagree with you. I'm still trying. I'm over our safeties. I'm over Rap. I'm over.
Our safeties are terrible. I
I
mean, let's
mean,
be honest.
I
Like
mean, what
the
is with our?
Nick Scott is the only one that I would say is average. I think Nick Scott is average. He makes some good plays every so often, and he's decent in coverage. But the rest of our safeties, we just need help back there. And you can see why they got Weddle. And I don't even think Weddle played that well in the playoffs. He was fine, but he was better than Burgess. Just doesn't have that same pop like he did in 2019 in his
Mhm.
first few starts. Like he's clearly not it. Um
I can't tell. Like, are we? Is there too much? Are they trying to do too much? Because it tends, and this isn't just with Rap, because I think that whole Debo, 59-yard run or whatever, it was because Rap couldn't make the tackle. Now I know Debo's hard to tackle, but like sometimes I just feel like we fly so fast that we don't think about tackling. That happened on the special teams when we were punting the ball away, and it just seems like we get there so fast, but then you just miss.
Well, I mean, rap technique most of the time is decent at tackling, at least from my like perspective. He's just terrible with positioning and coverage. And that's his issue. Like if you're he's good tackling in the box when someone's running at him downhill, but he is not good in coverage, and coverage gives you leverage, and if you're not getting in a certain leverage, you're not going to easily make the tackle. And that's why Debo is very great. He's from USC. I got to watch him like going out of college, and he knows how to take leverage and angles to make tackling him hard. It's not that he's super strong and he's impossible. Like Bobby Wagner, 9 times out of 10 could like out arm wrestle Debo. The thing is, he knows how to take leverage, lean, and take certain angles and make it harder to tackle him. He's very good at that. And you saw Bobby Wagner and Jalen Ramsey miss a tackle. Those should be the two guys on the team that don't miss a tackle. So like Debo just made a great play. The problem is no one else on our team was making great plays. That's I. You mean like when the highlight of your game is your linebacker tackling someone off the field? That's not a good game.
I mean, he had the nice stop, or Bobby Wagner had the nice stop at the goal line, which um, pushed it so that they had to shoot for that field goal. But other than that, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot there. I mean, Aaron Donald was still Aaron Donald. I mean, he played excellent as always. I mean, when you're double triple covered, you don't get to shine as well. But when he was able to, the one highlight was when the defenders didn't even touch him and he just kind of ran through. He didn't get the sack, but um, you
Y-
know, it made Jimmy G a
And
little bit afraid.
what's with still blitzing Jalen Ramsey? I am so tired of seeing him getting blitzed. I don't care that he got a pass deflection. I really don't care because he is so much more useful in coverage.
I just
Like
think they don't have anybody else to do that. I mean,
Bobby Wagner.
but he's not as quick as Jalen Ramsey. I think that's why Jalen Ramsey's in there because he's quick and he's able to jump high and he has the long arms and
I get that, but he's more useful in coverage.
I mean
Against Debo Samuel.
I just wish we had someone so that Jalen Ramsey didn't have to do that. I mean I get why they're doing it and he is partially successful at that. It's just they don't have anybody to replace Jalen Ramsey outside of that if it doesn't work.
I mean, Darion Kendrick had a great game. I mean, honestly, he almost got that pick on that Debo play. Like you could see where he's almost putting it together. And uh, Zach, I'm a big DK guy, and I think other people are starting to see that. He didn't have a breakout game. I'm not saying he did, but he's close to it, and you can kind of see that like he's gonna do it sometime this year. I think.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, being a rookie, I think he's playing really well, and I really am looking forward to, seeing him down the road. I mean, I think during even the broadcast, I mean, they were even saying that they feel like you know, he may be the starter, down the stretch when even when the people are becoming healthy again.
Yeah, it's gonna be him, Ramsey, and Durant. Like I've been saying that since what week two that those
Hmm.
three should be the starting three, and it's gonna turn out that way. But either way, the I would say our DBs weren't the problem for the most part. You didn't see our DBs get mossed or anything crazy like that. DK went for the pick and he missed it. Like he could have went for the pass deflection and he probably should have in that situation. That's the difference between experience where you see Ramsey most of the time he doesn't get picks because if he's not in the situation he's going to take the more safer option and pass or like bat the ball down, right? DK got a little greedy. Uh, that's a part of learning. I hope he doesn't do that again. And our DBs weren't the issue. Like you said, it's at least from what I see, it's the safeties and our linebackers. I guess you could say edge rushers too. Um, no pressure on the edge at all. You even had an edge rusher getting in a fight. Like, congrats, guys! You're on national television looking like idiots, getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's, you don't want to lose, especially when, this the whole hype is coming into this game is like this is a grudge match team, and each team hates each other, um, probably worse than any other team in the NFL, and they definitely showed it. I mean, they were getting pretty physical, and honestly, I hated some of the officiating calls. I feel like they were very lenient to the 49ers. I mean, there was a couple of them that were there was blatant face masks to Ramsey and a couple other players. So I was disappointed that in some of those calls that weren't called.
I mean, to me, I didn't see anything necessarily that I thought was overly bad by the refs. People are complaining about some holding on, like, I think Higby. Uh, yeah, I think it was Higby in the end zone, and I thought it was good coverage, and I didn't see the refs be like contradictory at all with how they were calling the game, at least from what I was seeing. It's not like the Super Bowl, where the Super Bowl you could tell the refs kind of like it were weird with different calls, not calling the Higgins pass interference very clearly, but calling a ticky tack one in the end zone. This game, I didn't see that type of like change in mentality or like a overt bias towards the 49ers. I just thought, they were physical and we just kind of didn't do anything back outside of Aaron Donald. Like Aaron Donald was the only one like overtly physical. I guess Ramsey too. Um, but outside of that, I didn't really see anyone on offense. Definitely, it just our line was getting abused, and McVay wasn't doing anything to give him favors. Yeah, he wasn't. He did what I think two bootlegs. Zach, do you remember more than two
I
near the
don't
end?
know. Yeah, no,
It was two or three, but you need to do bootlegs. You need to do 12 personnel with two tight ends. It, you got to do something to get pressure off of the center of that O line instead of just hitting your wall against a brick, or sorry, hitting your head against a brick wall. It just
yeah, it was a rough game, and we they're going to come up against, we can probably dive into next week, but they're just two going in 2-2. Um, it's just not where we thought we would be at this point. And this team is more talented than on paper. They're more talented than what they're performing. So
I mean, Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner have been disappointing so far. I would say Bobby Wagner has been a little bit more like I don't think he's been bad. He's been fine. I don't think he's performing to the same level he did last year for the Seahawks. Um, but he hasn't been good or great for us. Robinson just
I mean,
I
Bobby Wagner did lead the total in tackles by
yeah,
double the next person.
I
So
mean, but again, he's we're not paying him to lead the team in tackles. We're paying him for big plays. And I I'm not necessarily saying he's the main issue. He isn't. I'm just trying to point out like out of our two big signings, one has been all right, the other has just been non-performing at all. Like
mhm.
Robinson just it, doesn't Skoranek have more yards than him in 4 weeks?
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. I mean,
He has two touchdowns. I know he only has one, but I'm counting the second one. Let's count the second one. He has two touchdowns against the Falcons. That's
Hmm.
unacceptable through 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not good.
We're
It's
gonna
not
have
good.
to. I'm gonna say this now, Zach. We're gonna have to trade for someone. It, if this team wants to be competitive, and it's been this way like almost every year. It
Well, I'm just surprised we didn't see anything else. Like at this point, show me anything. I mean, I know Tutu was inactive for this, but give me McCutcheon. Just do something else. Let's try something else. Like this hasn't really. I mean, even in the two games
put
we
in
did win,
Brandon Powell more.
put in
Like
who I don't care. Do something because obviously the last 4 weeks I feel like we're just doing the same. When we brought in the full that we know we brought Skronik into like the fullback position and doing the I formation, like that was something different that was working. So other than that game, I feel like we're
like
just
why the hell did
redoing everything.
why didn't we do that, Zach?
I,
Why didn't he even try to have that? Like I could understand if on the first drive we came out in that and it was like half working and then McVay abandoned it. He didn't even do it once.
no, we
He did
did do the I
twice.
formation at the very beginning. It was at the first drive was the only drive that I remember that we did one or two plays
So one or
with
two
Skronik.
plays, not a full drive.
It was not a full drive in the I formation.
I mean, it's like I I don't know, Zach. I and we did what, half a drive in 12 personnel? And guess what? Our two most successful drives, Zach, were what? Those two drives?
Hmm.
Like, oh man, it was just frustrating to see Stafford just eyeball Cup the entire game. It
It
was like
just
the
makes you
Super
think,
Bowl.
what are they doing in practice to fix this? Like, what are we doing? Like, because we still haven't seen it every week. Other than the Skowronek week, it's always been to Cooper Cup. I mean, that's how it was all last season. That's how it is this season, which is great for fantasy owners. And hey, I love Cooper Cup, and I'd want him to get as many catches and as many touchdowns and all this. And I'm wearing his jersey right now. I'm wearing a hat that has his name on it. I am all for Cooper Cup, but he is not. He cannot be the only person catching the ball and making good plays. There has to be other people to pick up the slack, and there is nobody other than Higby in Skowronek. And Skowronek is kind of the in between. There hasn't been anybody. We need somebody else. We need another receiver to step up. We need a long and distance receiver because we are just way too short fielded. We need someone who can stretch the field. And
Man, it almost sounds like we need a speedy, small wide receiver that can go deep. I wonder where he was during this game, Zach. You know, or like if we weren't gonna use him, I mean, a certain center on the Chiefs would have been real nice this game because we. I mean, I don't think it was positive to bash Tutu last year. I don't. I think the Rams are particularly a team that doesn't really play rookies. It's very rare, especially under McVay. But dear, like if you're not going to use Tutu, just cut him. Like give the kid a chance somewhere else if you're not going to use him. And if he's that bad, then don't feel bad about cutting him. Like I hate when teams. This is why I'm fine with us always trading away our first round picks, Zach, because we like. I feel like if they're in the top 3 rounds, GMs feel like they have to hold on to the player forever, no matter how they're producing. Like, just
Mhm,
cut them. Just eat the mistake. Admit, like, and typically McVay and Snead have been good about like admitting their mistakes, at least kind of like subtly, with cutting a player, letting them go. They don't like say it out in press conferences, but uh, just we need someone else, and we need to stop wasting that roster spot on a player that they don't want to give chances to.
For sure. I agree.
Uh,
All right. Let's chat a little bit about next week's game against the Cowboys.
uh, uh,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You would think going into next week's game with the may or may not have Prescott that would be in our favor, but looking at what the
Cooper
Cowboys have
Rush
done,
is the same quarterback as Jimmy G, if not better. Like that should say a lot. And I'm gonna just give you an image. Have this mental image right here, ready, Zach. This center of this O line and Micah Parsons.
yeah.
Is that a good image to you?
Yeah.
Because that's nightmare fuel. I he Micah Parsons isn't Aaron Donald, but he's very good. He's very good, and he's gonna eat up the center of this line. Just completely gobble them up.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
if if I mean I'm hoping Shelton heals up and hopefully it's nothing super bad, but
well, I think he got the same ankle reagitated twice, which is terrible luck. Um, let me also, for a quick second, rant about how our fumble luck is atrocious. The fact that the 49ers lose a fumble and, of course, one of their players right there to recover it, that was annoying. And then it's even more annoying at the end of the game. It's just like perfectly their pass rusher, like, kind of like is moving his arm in a perfect angle for the fumble to kind of roll around and scoop straight into a 49ers player. Like, you can't make this crap up. Like, we're gonna lose the game no matter what, but geez, that's annoying. Um, but back to the Cowboys. Their fans are toxic and always thinking they're the best. Uh,
yeah, they're a good traveling team, which means SoFi Stadium could be filled with, 50% Cowboy fans, which is going to be annoying.
but let me take that back. I'm being salty right now because I just watched the Rams basically have the game plan of a 5-year-old. Um, Uh, yeah, the Cowboys are a solid defensive team. The offense has a great roster. Cooper Rush is average, but good roster around him.
I mean, but that's our problem. I mean, the problem is it doesn't really matter what the offense is. I think our defense can handle most, if not all, offenses. It's our offense. If our offense can't do anything to a defense that's, you know, that is I quote reminiscent from the Cowboys' doomsday defense, like that is terrifying to us when we just watched what the 49ers did to our offense.
Yeah, not to mention, like, I mean, the reason why the Cowboys aren't big playoff teams, at least in the last 3 years, is Mike McCarthy. He is atrocious with play calling. Dear jeez. He makes you like this type of game is what he constantly does for the Cowboys. So I do not envy Cowboy fans for having to watch McCarthy constantly. Dude only won one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. That should be criminal. Um, but like you said, our defense, it has faults. It's not perfect, but it's what held teams under 20 points, Zach, outside of
Yeah.
the Bills. Like, that's the Bills are a great team, and our defense, that was the worst defensive game so far from our defense. Every other game, they've held teams to points where we should have beat, and we won the last two, and we didn't win this one. and it was because of the offense.
Yep. And I mean, it's just repeating itself, and it just seems like our offense is going, they're going in the opposite direction that we're looking for them to go. And if they don't fix something this week, I mean, it's gonna look bad. I mean, if we go down to 2-3 this season, I mean, it's not looking great for us to rebound and to get into the post.
No, and let's all be honest. Like OBJ isn't going to come here if we get, let's say, 4 losses. I don't think he'll come here.
Especially not 4 losses
No,
in the next 4 weeks.
no,
If we have a total of 4 losses in the next 4 weeks, I mean, we can pretty much say bye to that hope.
yeah. Uh, he'll be gone. I mean, it. Stafford has 1 more year with us, right, Zach?
Stafford, didn't he get an extension, or is he
Well, he extended his current contract. I believe he has 1 more year.
okay?
Yeah. Um, it's either 1 or 2 more. If let's say we got 3 more losses, Zach, and we lost 4 in a row.
He
Um,
got a he got a 4 year extension, keeping him through the 2026 season.
2026. Yeah, but some of those are void years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I so it's yeah, it's 2 years with 2 void years. That's what I thought. And be honest, Zach, if we get any worse, man, you almost think like you have to start preparing for the next regime and stuff. I don't know. I still think Stafford is good, and I still like him. It's just one of those things. A tough game like this, he didn't play great, and this team is lacking creativity, and our roster is missing spots, especially on the offensive side because of misses by picking up Robinson. That's clearly not working out. We're gonna have to make moves, Zach, if we want to be competitive this year. I really do think it. Um,
and I mean the Rams have done a good job year over year. I mean, when they really find themselves in a pickle, they always come up and try to they make
Spark.
those moves. I mean, look at us last year when we picked up OBJ. Um, you know that was um, that was big, and then picking up Von Miller, that was big too. So we make these adjustments, but can we make them sooner rather than later? But usually we still have somebody else making bigger plays than just Cooper Cup.
Yeah, I. We probably have to get a O lineman and a. I don't know. I feel like parts of the night the O line was gonna be fine, and then they would just instantly get a block shedded. I guess we have to trade for O lineman, Zach.
I mean, that's what it's looking like. Just, I mean, kind of looking at the Cowboys coming up. I mean, they sacked Carson Wentz twice, and they've now have a total of 15 sacks in the first 4 weeks,
Yes, Stafford is the second most sacked QB in the league right now.
behind Wentz by 1 sack.
That's not good.
Um, yeah, that is the.
Well, I would say it's two. I don't technically there was that really good scramble by Stafford that was a sack because he was like a yard behind the line of scrimmage. Where if he would have went full run, he would have got back to the line of scrimmage. He was still trying to throw. Um, so it put an asterisk next to it, but it's still the O line's not doing great, and that was the worry going into this year, Zach. And it, to be fair, it wasn't the starting line that has been bad. We haven't had our starting line.
Yeah, and I mean, for the players that have filled the role, I think they've done an admirable job. But at the same time, if you don't have a decent O line, you can't really get the running game going. There was no explosive plays. Like I said, the only explosive play that we had was kind of the trickery play with Powell. Um, Other than
We
that, I mean,
we
Cam
had
Akers
a
and Henderson did pretty much nothing.
we had a third string center, a third string right guard, and a second string right guard at left guard. Right?
Yep. Yep.
That's oh
So
man.
they're gonna have to figure out something, and they're going to need to figure out really quick because, you know, we go down and we look at the schedule, and we got the Cowboys, we have the Panthers, and then we're right back to the 49ers again.
Well, good thing we have the Panthers because they're hot garbage outside of McCaffrey. Uh,
Yeah. So the next 3 weeks we're at home, we're at SoFi Stadium, and um, then we move on. So I think there's a bye week in between there. Yeah, I think between the Panthers and 49ers there's a bye week. So um, you know,
so Zach, you want to go ahead and do your predictions for the Cowboys game?
uh, I mean, at this rate, it's not looking great. Um, if the offense can get their act together, I think that they totally. So I'm gonna give a double prediction. I'm gonna say if the offense, I'm gonna go both ways though. So if the offense actually can get working again, um, I think we win it 24-17. But if we can't get going again, I mean, we're looking at the same spot we were before, where it's probably going to be 14-21.
I think 17-24 Cowboys. I think this line is too battered, especially against a really good defensive line for the Cowboys. Um, their offense is better than the 49ers by a good bit, even with Cooper Rush. Um, I don't think their offense is as good as last year, and they have a terrible play caller, but I think they probably score a defensive touchdown. Like, we've been fumbling the ball. We did we fumble this game, Zach?
Um,
Outside of Stafford.
yeah, that wonky fumble. Other than that, no, we did not.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have
I
that going for us, kind of.
yeah. I think we're gonna lose to the Cowboys, and we'll probably have a pick me up game against the Panthers, and our season's probably gonna come down to the line against the 49ers the second game. That's gonna be must win if we want to have a chance at the playoffs. To be honest, because at that point you would be looking at what 3-3.
hmm
Yeah, you'd be looking at 3-3.
So they got a lot of work to do in the next. They have a lot of work to do in the next 6 days, and short week for them. So they better get on it.
Yep. All right, Zach.
Want to wrap
Anything
things
else?
up? Nope, I don't got anything else. I think we all um, probably need to get some rest and try to recover from this pitiful, pitiful game we had to watch.
You
So,
know, different year, same game.
yep. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. Um, If you'd like to send us questions, you can do so at feedback@eastcoastrams.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter. We are at East Coast Rams. Feel free to comment, DM, let us know what you thought about the game, how you're recovering from this game, and then give us your predictions on how the Rams are going to do up against those Cowboys. Um, you can also find Ashton at Rams fan Ashton1 and myself at Zach Mayer. And again, thank you for everyone who listens to the pod. Um, you know, we say this every week, but it's truly we do this so that we can, we get to talk about Rams and we get to build a community. We keep saying that we are Rams fans. We're a podcast of fans for fans. So if you can, just take a few minutes to like, share this podcast. out. And then if you do, please review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We're on all the major podcasts now. So yeah, so that will wrap us up. And we will see you guys next week. Whose house? Ram's house.